Hi, everyone, and welcome to Krista's Curated Life. I'm Krista, and I'm a part-time reseller on websites like Poshmark, Depop, and eBay. And today we're going to be doing 10 outdoor BOLO brands. I've just started doing research videos, so if you like this type of content, please let me know. I live in Minnesota, so I'm proud to know a lot of outdoor brands, but these are basically 10 that I've never heard of, with one that you're like, Krista, we know. But anyway, let's hop on into it. So a few notes about this, the research I did for this. These are all the stats are based off of the sell-through rate on eBay, and I only did used only. It's always great when we can find news pieces, but obviously we find news pieces more often. So on the screen, I'll show you what the tag looks like and some common styles within that brand. I am cutting out bread and butter, so these are items that you could very likely pay up for. Also, I do my sell-through rate calculations, sold divided by listed, which technically isn't correct math, but is the method used by most resellers. Therefore, you could have a higher sell-through rate than 100%. So let's hop on into it. We are starting with the brand Melanzana, which I think is Italian for eggplant, but I could be totally wrong, and I may pronounce some of these brands wrong. So this brand does men and women's clothing. They do limited drops. Their items basically keep their resale value just because they're known for their color block pattern, so they'll frequently change the colorway. I want to say that they're made in Colorado, and so all the pieces are made within the USA. The brand itself has a 79% sell-through rate. There are 256 items listed and 325 sold, so you have over 100% sell-through rate on the brand. Most items are selling for $90 to $115. The most popular is their microgrid hoodie. They have men and women's, and that's basically what's listed online. And I was talking about limited drops of them. I have a skirt that's pictured, but most of them is going to be this hoodie that you're looking out for. Our second brand is Bearskin. This brand leans more heavy duty tactical gear. They do make men's, women's, and children's clothes, but most things listed are men's, and that's kind of going to be a theme that we see through these outdoor brands. The brand itself has a 100% sell-through rate, and there are 250 items listed. Commonly, most things are selling for $50 to $60. I would say that their fleece hoodies and jackets are most popular. The one perk of Bearskin is that their tag on the inside lining has the style name listed. I do Google image for most of my pieces, but it's super easy when the brand puts it right within the item, so you know exactly without having to do Google image. They specialize in like this fleece type thing, so I'll pop some of those up. And as mentioned before, it's more heavy duty tactical. And so some of them have almost like a little bit of a military look to them. The third brand overall has a 75% sell-through rate, but there are 1,000 items listed, so your likelihood of stumbling on it is a lot higher. They do make women's clothing, but what's listed online is predominantly men's. The brand leans heavily into hunting and fishing, but other items are popular, and obviously there's like a general outdoor theme if it leans hunting and fishing. It's really interesting the different prices for the items that are selling. So shirts regularly go for around $35, which frankly is pretty good for a t-shirt. More substantial obviously goes for more money, but the sell-through rate for shirts in general is around 60%, so that one's not as high. However, I'd say keep an eye out for the pants in this brand because they have a 116% sell-through rate. There are only about 60 listed, and so that is not the majority of what's listed, but is what's selling very quick. They have a very like chino utility look to them, and comps for these pants were all over the board. I saw runs as low as 60, but as high as 200, which is crazy. Jackets are just under 100% sell-through rate, and a lot of them are more like thicker jackets. They have the whole range of jackets, or they're like thicker shackets, but I did see a lot more shackets than general jackets. All the jackets are going for like 100 and 150, all the way up to 200. If you didn't know this, Sitka is a city in Alaska. So it makes sense that that is a title for an outdoors brand. Next, we have Kuyu. This brand as a whole has 150% sell-through rate with 600 listed, which is fantastic. I've actually found this once and it sold really, really quickly. I actually did pay up for the piece at like a turnstile. Like Sitka, it leans into hunting gear, but they have everyday clothes. Men have the highest sell-through rate. That isn't the theme here, but women's is only at 67%. So if it's a women's piece, I would look into the sell-through rate. However, the one piece I did sell and sold well was a women's item. So basic t-shirts go for $20 to $30, but the coats are going to go for about 65 plus, with some of them going up to $200. Their fleece and sweater jackets are the most popular, and I'll pop up some photos. That's the item that I've sold. I sold one of their fleece jackets. The next brand is Triple Aught Design. You hear the word design in the title. So this one leans like a little bit more fashion for outdoor brands. The brand overall has 143% sell-through rate with 400 items listed. So the less likely that you'll find it. They do make men's clothes only, but they also make gear. I did only look into clothing specifically, so you can do the gear research on your own. Like I said, they're a more like stylish, functional outdoor gear brand. And one thing that's special about them is that they're made in the US. Some clothes look more casual, some lean more utility, and that's kind of just like within the fashion utilitarian space. Pants go for around $85 to $100. Shorts are really popular right now. Obviously, I'm doing this research in June of 2026, so shorts are selling, but I would just look up the sell-through rate on those if you're watching this video later and seeing it out of season. Shorts are going for $50 to $70, which if you ask me is crazy for a pair of shorts. Some of even the cargo pants look like they could lean into streetwear a little bit. And so I do think the fact that like it's made in the US, it's high quality, if they have more sleek designs, it totally makes sense to me why this brand is more popular. The next brand is John G. Don't come for me, but this is technically a running brand. I may actually pop up some of their advertisements because everything the ad campaign that they currently had going was leaning like very desert rustic. So they make men's and women's clothes, and they're in the category of running gear. But if any of you have been like out hiking or outdoors, people are wearing athletic gear when they're hiking. That's how I reasoned this one in here. However, the marketing, like I said, leans heavily into outdoor like trail running, and they have pieces with UPF, which is really popular for people that are outdoors hiking. They want to protect their skin. So the brand overall has 120% sell-through rate, and there are 400 items listed. There are some more basics in this brand, but some of the prints lean very fun, very vibrant, colorful, so they'd be super easy to spot. The brand does have a lower selling price, with a lot of the items going for $20 to $30. However, if you keep the sell-through rate in mind, depending on your selling model, you could still pay up a little bit for these. Or I would check to see, like I would Google image to see if the prints are really popular. Men specifically has 130% sell-through rate, with women only being 100. And so I would just look into those. They do, like I said, have more vibrant pieces, but they also have more basics. I think I've seen this brand once and I put it back. And now I'm like, Chrissy, you should not have done that. It had a great sell-through rate. The next brand is called Go Ruck. They do make men's and women's clothes, and the brand as a whole has 120% sell-through rate. There are 500 items listed. So obviously they're called Go Ruck. Rucking is like walking or marching while carrying a weighted backpack. So that definitely leans military. I would say that this brand focuses on very high quality pieces, and they say on their website that they're designed with special forces or the military in mind. They also have a lifetime guarantee. I couldn't quite tell if all of their pieces were made in the US, but a lot of them were, and I want to say like the little flag on some of their items on their website denotes like what's made in the US and what's not. They do make clothes and shoes or backpacks. Obviously, like a rucksack is like the backpack itself. I didn't do any research really into the shoes or backpacks. I'm just specifically talking about clothes, but the women's shoes do not have a good sell-through rate. So I would contemplate picking those up. But the men's shoes are 177% sell-through rate, and that's really all I went into looking into those. Men's clothes have 145% sell-through rate, but women's has like really poor. I want to say it was like 10%, like it was pretty low, if even that. It's almost interesting because some of their athletic wear almost looked like CrossFit type gear. And so think of that like military, tactical style. They do make merino wool pieces, which those are pretty popular, but just their general fabrics go through as well. Oh, this was the highest sell-through rate brand. This is Kettle Mountain Apparel. The brand has a 500% sell-through rate. However, there are only 700 items listed, so your likelihood of stumbling upon it isn't as high. But because it had such a high sell-through rate, I wanted to show you guys. They do only make men's items. Let women outdoors. That's all I gotta say. They have a lifetime repair program, even if you damage it yourself, which I thought was really interesting. So they focus on very high quality construction. I didn't see necessarily that they had a lifetime guarantee, but that they had the lifetime repair program, and you just have to mail it in. And I think it's at like 4 to 6 weeks and they'd be able to fix it. The clothes overall have very basic neutral colors. So like your like tans, browns, like burnt oranges, very earthy, so you can blend in with the outdoors when you're outdoors. So the shorts are going for $30 to $40, so not as high, but think high sell-through rate. Pants are going around 50 to 60. I didn't really see many tops listed, so bottoms is probably what you're going to see out of this brand, although they do make tops as well. The clothes actually themselves aren't that expensive, so they do maintain their resale value. Like I saw shirts going for like $70. And so if they're in turn selling for 40, that's really good at like maintaining their value. Some looked a little bit more utility, but this brand definitely leans like a little bit more athletic for outdoors. Our next brand is Lives In. The brand has 100% sell-through rate as a whole, but there are only 83 items listed. However, I wanted to highlight this brand because they do have some that sell pretty high. Like we were just talking about Kettle, this one does have a lifetime warranty, and they do repairs. And so that's going to be really common that people are seeking out high quality pieces that they can get dirty, hike in, and keep for a long period of time. And that's why people are paying up for these items. They're paying for the quality of the piece and the function of piece, not necessarily the style. Basically, it's just pants on the resale market, and they're going for about $30 to $50. If you find their overalls, that's like the head and bolo within the brand, those go for about $90. They had some really cool color schemes in the brand, which I thought were really interesting. And the last item, the last brand you have heard of, but I want to highlight for a specific reason, Arc'teryx. So you already know this one, but there are some categories with a high sell-through rate. So the reason I wanted to highlight this is the general sell-through rate for the brand is only 50%. which to be honest isn't even that bad. However, there are 18,000 items listed. So compared to a lot of the other brands, you're very likely going to stumble upon this. I've actually probably only sold Arc'teryx, like if I can count, like maybe 5 times over reselling for like part-time reselling for 3 years. That is fairly low. The sell-through rate for women's clothes is 35% and the men's is 55%. So if we haven't recognized the theme that outdoor clothes are just generally have a better sell-through rate to sell in men. If you guys have a women's outdoors brand, I think that would be really interesting if you could share one that I haven't heard of. That'd be really cool. Arc'teryx makes clothes and accessories, and so the accessories are actually bringing down the sell-through rate a little bit. The general sell-through rate for clothing is 66%, and accessories are lower at 30%. They make a lot of hats. Some are super popular. They make like backpacks, duffel bags, and things like that. Jackets have only a 44% sell-through rate, but they sell for hundreds of dollars. And so you may sit on them for a little bit, but you're going to get a great return for what you're paying for them. The top selling category is men's activewear, and the sell-through rate for that is 150%. Hoodies and sweatshirts are at 100% and are going for $70 to $100. So the fact that there's so many things on the market, the general sell-through rate really isn't that bad. And the price that things are selling for is fantastic. I would definitely look into Arc'teryx, even though it has a lower selling brand. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you know of an outdoors brand that I missed, something that sold like that, or that has a really good sell-through rate, I would love if you guys would share it in the comments. I do want to start doing more research-based videos. So tell me if you like this type of content. It's funny because I did my bra video and the views were really, really low, but I had so many comments saying that people love this type of video. And so I'm definitely interested in hearing more from you guys about what type of content or other deep dives you'd like me to do into a category or BOLO brands. But anyways, thank you guys for watching these 10 BOLO outdoor brands. If you like reseller content, specifically my reseller content, I would love if you guys would like and subscribe, but I'll see you all next time. Bye.